2, 3.
X-Rated, the X-Men Animated Review Show.
This one's for you, Morph.
Hello and welcome to X-Rated, the X-Men Animated Review Show. This one's for Morph because this one is our interview with actor Ron Rubin. I am your host, Devin, and Andre will be around any minute. He's rushing back, hopefully going the speed limit, and he'll be back with us in a minute. And of course, our special guest tonight, the original Morph, Chode.
Chode, yes, I was Chode as well.
Senator Kelly,
Senator
now
Kelly
President Kelly. I shouldn't.
Oh, he's president now, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't matter who voiced him when he was senator. He's the president now. Ron Rubin, how's it going tonight, Ron?
Nice to be here, Gavin. Davin. Nice to be here.
No worries.
Because your name is Davin, so I remember it with Gavin. So
Yeah,
I'm doing well, thank you. And it's been a long time coming. We've been going back and forth, so it's really nice to finally be here, Davin.
It is, and thank you very much. I know the ex-goons out there, as we call them, are excited.
Good.
They love Morph. We all love Morph. I mean, we can get right. Well, we'll get into that. First off, you were born in Winnipeg. Is that where you grew up?
I was. You've done your homework. I was born in Winterpeg, and I basically, was went to school there, played hockey there, did theater there, all that kind of stuff. It was important to my dad to get my degree, and then I can do whatever I wanted. And I did that, and then ran away and joined the circus. But I'm originally
Second City.
Yeah, you know what? I came out to Toronto and started doing improv with Second City. Yeah, and back then there were some pretty interesting folks doing improv back then. I won't name drop, but it was a wonderful time for comedy. And then got into stand up and started doing stand up all around North America. And
Really,
yeah, I was I was a featured performer all throughout, and and like every serious actor, they want to do comedy. Every comic actor wants to do drama. So at one point, I left when I studied acting in New York, excuse me, and played the comedy clubs there. And got to work with Robin Williams and Billy Crystal. And I was in my early 20s, and it was just an amazing time in my life. It was just wonderful. And did the LA thing, but I'm in Toronto for the most part here. Everything has gone pretty global with the internet and everything. So a lot of times, back in the day, you had to literally fly there and be places in person. And now you can just kind of connect up and patch in and, do the shows from my home studio.
Oh, that's nice.
But yeah, go on.
Rumor has it it's still winter in Winnipeg.
Yeah, you know what? It's a misnomer. We have gorgeous summers. We really do. Mosquitoes and dragonflies aside, but it was a great place to grow up. It really was, and I had my own comedy troupe there and my own radio show, and I was doing that at the same time. I was kind of, doing my education, and then I just picked up and then moved to Toronto, and with no connections, and just started with improv and stand up and on camera stuff and commercials, and got hired to do my first cartoon, and I just instantly fell in love with the genre, and been doing that for a long time now.
Are you familiar with this like ultra super clear lake in Manitoba? Like it's just like super clear water.
Well,
the clearest.
Which one are you talking about? Because my family and I used to go to literally a place called Clear Lake. So I don't know if that's it.
That might be one. That might be it.
I don't know.
Might be it.
Andre is joining us. Hi, Andre.
Hey, Ron, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Hey, sorry I'm a little late.
That's okay.
We're breaking any speed limits, I hope.
I'm not sure which exact lake you're talking about, but I went to Clear Lake, Falcon Lake, all the Winnipeg lakes.
Oh, I see.
So where did you work
portion
with
of the questions?
So where did you work? Yeah, we're working on the early life.
We've gotten to the bodies of water part of the.
I have no idea where we are.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're into water now.
Yeah, that was a good drowning in water impression.
Thank you. I pride myself in being able to.
You never know when you're going to be asked to play a merman.
Exactly. I've actually used that voice for a lot of different things because any voice I do, I can add the gurgle to it, and it actually adds a nice little element. I've used that voice in quite a few cartoons.
That's
Kind of
awesome.
like the Chode voice almost.
Yeah, Chode
kind of has a thing like that.
Does he? I can't even remember the Chode voice, to be honest with you. That was so very long ago.
Yeah, very like this reptilian kind of.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. So
where did you work with Robin Williams and Billy Crystal?
Oh God, yeah, I didn't want to name drop it all. No, Second City was God.
Who was on your troupe there?
That was who's in Mike Myers. It was just an amazing time. When I came to Toronto in the early '80s, it was. I've been very lucky in my career because when I started doing stand-up and Second City, it was kind of the comedy breakout, area time in Toronto. And who are the comics here? Like Howie Mandel, Jim Carrey, Norm Macdonald. Wow. I mean, lots of guys who went on to make it pretty darn big. And I had been doing troupe comedy and improv my whole life, and I wanted to break out and do stand-up, and I did that. Yuck Yucks is the big comedy. Do you have a Yuck Yucks where you guys are?
Yeah, we have one.
Yes, we do.
The casino.
So they had this thing called Toronto's Funniest Person, and it's probably in its like 30th year now or 40th year. And I won the first one of those, and the prize was to go down to New York to play Catch a Rising Star in the Improv.
Oh,
and
wow!
I did that, and so yeah, I got a few stories about working with some amazing people down there. And I was just telling Davin that it was an amazing time in my life. I was going to acting school during the day, playing the comedy clubs at night,
wow.
And and went from kind of theater and comedy and on camera to got hired to do some cartoons in the early 80s, Police Academy and Beetlejuice and Cops and a few of those. And I just fell in love, with the genre. I just, I got to be in the studio, to work with Tim Burton and Beetlejuice, and I had about a dozen parts in that, and I was Doom Buggy the car, and the announcer.
That's my second favorite episode.
Oh,
so how involved was Burton in the cartoon? I would assume he wasn't at all, but
he wasn't at all. After it got off the ground, all the directors and the producers kind of were homegrown, but there's some other people coming in.
Oh, that's cool, awesome. But, I would assume he had nothing to do with that. It's cool that he had something to do with it a little bit.
Yeah, if memory serves, we're going back 40 years now. And it was I just fell in love. When you do on camera, you're hurry up and wait and memorize your lines and hit your marks and go into hair and makeup and with voiceover, it was just it was amazing. I could go in there and just do this voice and that voice and all these things. And I'm in a pair of jeans and a baseball cap and just doing it. And I love doing that because my origin was radio. And back when I started, I had a radio weekly show at the university channel and station. And back then there's no sound effect records or anything. So I had to create, that's where I got started in sound effects and voices and everything. So we had to do everything. So if we were,
oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
I really romanticize that sort of that old timey, like the folio and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. So we were doing
cool.
We were doing all of that, and I was doing all the folio with my voice. So if we were opening doors, or starting cars, or opening champagne, or doing whatever. So
fantastic.
I started.
That was my dream job as a kid.
Oh, it was just wild. So when I came to Toronto, when I did stand up, I just incorporated all the sound effects and voices into my act and did that for a while. And it was just a great, when I teach voice now, I just really encourage people to do improv, stand up, singing, community radio, just get behind the mic and get familiar with your voice. But that was my origin. And I'm too, like, just old timey radio kind of, I just love theater of the imagination,
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. Well, the Catch a Rising Star experience must have been crazy.
Yeah, it was great.
I'm a big fan of a lot of stand-up stuff, and I know like Mark Maron talks about it quite often. I think he got started on one of those.
Yeah,
he got one of them one year, I think so.
Yeah, no, Maron's great. He's got a good podcast too.
Yes, he does. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I played New York for the first. Here I was, like 21 years old. I won this competition. I had barely even done stand-up before, and I did my set. We're just gabbing here, right? So I was at at the table. They didn't have a green room at Catch. There was just like a back table that all the comics sat. And I was about to go on. I think I was to go on next or second next, and the owner came over. Or the host, the MC, to the table, and he said, "Listen, Robin Williams just walked in, so do you mind if he goes up?" And he went up and he did like 45 minutes of improv, and then
he got bumped.
What's that?
You got bumped.
Like, oh no, we just and then Billy Crystal joined him, and anyway, for an hour and a half, they just slayed, and killed it. And the guy came back to the table and said, "Who wants to go on?" And none of us wanted to follow that. So,
you want to follow that?
Yeah. So they put a singer on after that. But I did my set, and the irony of a New York audience is no one's from New York. It's it's all kind of tourists coming to the comedy shows and stuff. And I can't remember. I don't think I had killed. I don't think I bombed, but I did a set in New York for the first time ever. And I walked out onto First Avenue, I guess it was. And I just looked at the skyscrapers, and there I was in New York. And, if I could freeze that moment in time, that was one of the special moments in my life. But that was.
Well, I assume that experience helped when you're on Kung Fu The Legend Continues. Can you play a stand-up comic in that?
Oh, that's so fun. Wow. Yeah, I did the Kung Fu.
I think I remember that episode because I used to watch the show. Like where I grew up was a very rural place, and I only had CBC and ATV growing up. That was it. So whatever was on those channels was it. So Kung Fu was one that I was really into because there's only so many shows I really liked.
That's great. Kid. That's right. Because I remember auditioning for that, and I just did my stand-up. Yeah, and I got hired. And okay, trivia question, Andre: who was the guest star in that episode? Do you remember?
Leslie Nielsen.
Here's a hint. He was one of he played James Bond.
Oh, Lazenby, I'm guessing.
Yeah, George.
Yeah,
Lazenby. So it's cool. Oh, wow. So I was across from James Bond. It was so fun.
You know what's funny? Because he did a bunch of did he play like a Swabby spy type character?
I can't even recall what he played. But it was probably a Swabby
James.
Yeah.
He did that a lot. Like I collect like Blu-rays and stuff, and every once in a while, like some of these boutique companies will put out these old things, and if it's cheap, I might pick it up and just give it a try. And one of them was an '80s show called The Master.
I don't
with Lee Van Cleef, and
gosh.
He plays like Timothy Patton, who's like a big director now.
Yeah.
But he was like a kid in it, and Jennifer Connelly. No, Demi Moore's in the first episode.
Oh wow.
Okay. But she's very young. But it's just sort of one of these shows where it's very much an A-Team ripoff. Like he's like, he was an American GI that stayed in Japan after the war and then became a ninja, and then like he's the only. Yeah, they say in the intro he's the only Occidental ninja, so only non-Eastern.
Oh, that's funny.
But then he comes to New York and to try to find a daughter he didn't know he had, or to the States. And
I don't even remember. But Lee Van Cleef.
There's an episode with Lazenby in it where he plays a spy.
Oh,
that's,
okay, cool.
That's an old sort of contemporary of his, and they have a whole thing.
Wasn't Lee Van Cleef the bad and the good, bad, the ugly?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I love that movie. That's one of my favorite spaghetti westerns of all time.
He's in a lot of Western movies. The Day of Anger, and
such a good look.
I think he was in A Few Dollars More as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's super cool.
Anyway, it was an amazing time in New York there, and I did stand up. I did theater. I was working on my acting. I did the LA thing and wrote for some sitcoms and was on George Slatter's Comedy Club and Evening at the Improv and those shows, and was doing a lot of that work, and then started getting hired to audition for cartoons. And do you remember Cops?
Oh yeah, Bad Vibes. You're Bad Vibes, right? Yeah.
It's been unlocking things in my small child mind.
And Dr. Bad Vibes was still one of my favorite characters. He's like a real niche character at Comic Cons. People who know the show love Bad Vibes.
He was visually a very interesting villain. Like he had that whole. Yeah,
very androgynous kind of weird kind of character. And he had
the dome with the brain, the visible brain in it.
If you guys can see my wall here, I got pictures of him. Anyway, and he was just like this crazy mad professor. Yeah, and I also played Buzzbomb, his robot sidekick.
Right.
So that was really fun. And so after doing, like Beetlejuice and Cops and playing all these character voices, I got hired to do Police Academy. I played the lead in that, the Steve Guttenberg part. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because that was just my own voice, and I had never just done my own voice before. I'm very comfortable doing characters, and I find with voice actors, people are either kind of a little intimidated by doing characters or more comfortable with their own voice, or the other way around. And I love doing characters because you can really lock into, I give every character, a laugh that brings me back to it. And when I played Lieutenant Mahoney, I felt, I kind of felt naked because it was my own voice. So it was like, come on, guys, we got to get to the police station and arrest those guys. And it was like, where do I go from here? But it was a wonderful experience. And the director for that was Howie Morris. Do you know Howard Morris from Sid Caesar's Your Show of Shows? He was on, he was just famous for so many things back in the day, back in the 40s, 50s. And he would just tell us the Hollywood stories. It was just a wonderful experience. But anyway, I'm babbling here.
No, that's, I remember him. Yeah, for sure. He did work on the Flintstones and stuff. He's a cool guy.
That's right. You're right.
Yeah.
He worked on the Flintstones, and he was in,
he's in the Andy Griffith Show too.
Mayberry, the Andy Griffith Show. That's right. He was the weird guy who came over from the So it was just wonderful, and it just opened my eyes into all of that. So I kind of started doing voice work there, and I just, as I said, I just fell in love with animation and the genre and voice acting, and I slowly kind of got away from theater and on camera and commercials and just kind of devoted everything because I was able to. I was one of the lucky ones. I got to work a lot, and so I'm doing a lot of commercials and series, and I'm just loving it. Just being in the booth creating. Back to the theater of the imagination, doing all that. So the 80s were great, and then in the 90s, X-Men came a knocking, and anyway, there's a segue.
That's a good segue
because your voice of the character is very cool. Like I really liked Morph in that series, and his voice work was great.
Well, it was weird. X-Men was, and I'm sure some of the original cast would have told you this, it was a very different kind of cartoon because coming from those character-driven, cartoons, and even Police Academy it was my voice, but it was still kind of wacky and zany, and X-Men was the closest thing to a serious film or theater production. Actually, the rehearsals were very intense, and there was no screwing around. You were there to kind of work, and so and back then I had done quite a few cartoons already, but nothing like that. And a lot of the original cast hadn't done many cartoons at all, and it was very interesting because everybody, and I'm very good friends with all the original cast members, and just to remember us back then and had no idea where the show was, ultimately going to go. But
many of them have said how they had no idea how popular it was until one day they asked to see any of the fan mail, and they're like, oh yeah, it's like this full room full of mail.
Oh yeah, no, it's insane. The same thing happened with Sailor Moon, but we'll get into anime another time. So X-Men, I think I auditioned for a few parts, and they had me in mind for Morph. And as you probably know, Morph was kind of adapted from the Changeling, in the comic books, and he was there to have a little lightness, a little comic relief, a little whatever. And so I was really happy when I booked it. And then imagine as an actor looking at the first or second script and saying Morph is left for dead. Like it's the worst thing an actor ever wants to see.
I was going to say, how disappointed were you to read the full script and be like, oh, he's dead in the first.
It was like, oh my God. So Morph was really fun because I do a lot of voices and everything. I got to play the president, and I got to play Gambit, and I got to and I got to play Wolverine and everything. And I've gotten quite close with the showrunners, Julia and Eric. Yep. I don't know if you've interviewed.
We've had them on the show.
You've had them on the show. Okay,
yeah, they're fantastic.
Larry Houston and everything. And so, I talked to them, and it was kind of fascinating. They said Morph was kind of set up to be killed. They with X-Men, they wanted to show that this cartoon wasn't like any other cartoon, that had happened before. And so they kind of created a bond, a friendship between Wolverine and Morph. And then they killed off Morph, which has never been done in a who kills off a lead character in a cartoon, especially in the first episode or two.
Could you imagine if like Ninja Turtles killed off Casey Jones?
Yeah, well, exactly.
But there is like more than that, because Morph became everybody's favorite character after that first episode.
That's just it. And Julian and Erica were telling me that I think the New York, whatever the case, they didn't feel Morph was one of the original true classics X-Men, and they wanted to prove a point here. And then the fans, God bless the fans, they started kind of revolting and saying, "What are you doing? Morph was our favorite character." And they did all these what are they called when they bring people in to get their opinions, studies.
Focus groups.
Yeah, they did all these focus groups, and it turned out that Morph was one of the most popular characters on the show.
Really, just from that one appearance, from the one episode.
From
two episodes.
So good.
First two episodes. Awesome. And so basically, as you know, they brought Morph back as the evil Morph. Mr. Sinister gave me an evil brain
under the eyes.
Evil. Yeah, exactly. So
and pasty skin.
But I didn't know this at the time. So yeah, exactly. And you know what the funny thing is? My voice kind of, people say, when I'm doing cons and stuff, like, what's the difference between the good Morph and the evil Morph? And it's all in the laugh. The good Morph, his laugh went up. And the evil Morph went down like that. So I kind of
secret unlocked.
And so after I got killed off, I'm looking at it and I'm going, holy shit. I mean, what do you mean? That's it? It's over? This is like the beginning of a franchise, and now it's gone. And then they brought me back for like the first half dozen episodes in season 2, I think, and then a couple in 3 and 4 and 5. But it was kind of weird to the elation of getting the part, and then then just the angst of losing the part. But thank God the fans came through, and the focus groups proved that people loved Morph, and so they brought me back, and it was great, thanks to the fans.
Our first 2 seasons were dedicated to Morph. I think that's safe to say.
Really? What do you mean your first 2 seasons?
Oh, we used to always say that one's for you, Morph, because we'll bring at the end of the second episode.
Oh, that's great.
We played that multiple times.
We used to toast it like, this one's for you, Morph.
Oh, that's awesome.
We actually made a shirt that we had in our. I don't know if we still have it available.
That's true.
Really? I want one.
All right.
Give me the link.
It's got Wolverine's claws with a drink, and it says, "This one's for you, Morph."
Oh, okay, cool.
That's sweet.
I'll bring it up. I'll show it.
I'm just kind of interested in what you said about the laugh. So is that how you get into a voice? You always pick the laugh and then work outward from that, or is that what brings you back to the?
Yeah, it's funny. Every character I've ever done, I've always kind of punctuated it with a because sometimes you audition for parts and you don't find out, or you don't get them, or you're not in the recording studio for months, or sometimes even a year or longer. And sometimes you're going around the room if you do it. Back in the day, we did everything ensemble. So we had the entire cast there going around the room. These days, they bring you in kind of one at a time, or if you have a two-hander, they're bringing 2. But a lot of times you're playing multiple parts. So every time I do a character, I kind of give him a signature laugh or chuckle or words or whatever. So like right now, I did Flying Rhino Junior High. I played this part, Radicus. And Radicus kind of talked like this. But if I do his laugh first, then when I do the voice, I'm completely into character, And Bad Vibes, once again, the evil Dr. Bad Vibes. I can do that voice in my sleep, but it's not really authentic until I do the laugh first.
Oh, okay.
Then all of a sudden, I'm into the whole personality of Bad Vibes. So I always kind of do a laugh or a chuckle.
That's cool.
And sometimes it's a few words, irky perky. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I played this great gross germ of a character, and the audition was now that I think the aphids should pay double because they have 2 stomachs. So once again, it was his laugh that got me into character. So so a little bit with Morph, but yeah, almost all the characters I do. And when I teach, voice, I teach the students to kind of do that as well, because it gets you back into character and it gets you back into the personality. And it's a really good point of reference for that. So
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I wish
I'd known that earlier.
I do some acting, and I was in just a low budget thing that was on the Trailer Park Boys have like a streaming service, and there's a pilot for a show that they had me in. I was playing an Irish gangster, and like my accent, I'm sure, was probably any Irish person would have been disgusted by it. But that was the one thing I would pick something. I had like a phrase that I would say, and it would get me back into the accent in my head.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
should always do that. Speaking of bad Irish accents, I played the like, it's fun because I grew up eating cereal and reading the back of the boxes and imagining I was going to be, and I got to be the Kraft peanut butter bear and the Fruit Loops. The Lucky Charms.
You were lucky?
Yeah, I was lucky.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Oh wow.
So I was like, "Where are you going with my magical charms?" And I'm thinking, "Are you guys serious?" I said, "I'm a Jew from the prairies. Like you're hiring me to be an Irish guy, I'm doing the most cliche. There you go.
My name is Andre Julian Mayette, and like they're like, yeah, be the Irish guy. I'm like, I guess I kind of look like an Irish person. But...
Yeah, no, it's been fun. I've been able to voice Snap, Crackle, or Pop, one of those for the Rice Krispies, and Chester Cheetah for Doritos. Yeah, I've had some fun kind of.
Chester Cheeto, that's awesome.
Deliciously cheesy. That was many
oh
years
man,
ago.
I just wanted to do voice
lines. Super stuck with me because I say it all the time, and then I just like smile and laugh to myself, and no one understands why it's so funny to me. But it's just like when Morph, they walk into that room, and it's obviously horrible things are gonna happen, and Morph's just like, looks like smooth sailing from here.
Yeah,
looks
like smooth sailing from here, guys. Yeah, exactly. I know.
He's such a great like comic relief character. Just like even when he was evil, he still was kind of funny, so
absolutely. I wish that incarnation of Morph would have continued on, but I do understand that changes are made in this business. So yeah.
A nice comment from one of our listeners there. He said he just said he loves the episode in season 4 where Morph Courage, where you save the day.
Oh great, thank you.
Thank you. Your redemption arc. I like how they pop you in every once in a while, and they're just like Morph's recovering, from all the horrible stuff.
And Morph's always recovering. Help, save me, Wolverine! Go save yourself. Are we live?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. Okay,
that's okay.
Sorry.
Nice to know. Okay, hi everyone who's listening out there.
Oh, I thought maybe I didn't mention it. My bad.
You didn't. I originally thought this was just audio.
It's a good thing you saved any of the horrible words or the. You can curse all you want in this. It's fine.
It's a good thing I haven't been cursing here. Anyway, thanks to everyone.
We don't mind.
To everyone
no, we curse all the fucking time, so don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
If anyone has questions, please ask. So yeah.
Well, here's one. Did you know Allison Court from Beetlejuice?
Oh, very much so. As a matter of fact, we just did a Comic-Con in Boston not too long ago, and I saw Allison there, and she's I love Allison. Allison's great. Allison was just like so young. She was like, we were kind of protective of Allison, and now she's done so great and
huge at that age. Like she was just everywhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah.
I host trivia, and I did I had a quick round on clowns last week, and I had a question. What was the name of the character from the Big Comfy Couch, the main character? And literally, there were so many people there that were like, "I love that show," and more because I don't think I ever caught it because it was on a station I got as a kid, but. Like so many people had such fond memories of that show. And it definitely was a big deal, especially for Canadians.
No, Allison was wonderful. She really was.
Speaking of Beetlejuice, I love the Doom Buggy, by the way. I always talk about the one with the skeletons in the closet and the one with the Doom Buggy.
Actually, me and my brother constantly bring up the Shop Till You Free Get Spooky Boutique episode. That was the one.
Doom
constantly talking.
Doom Buggy was fun because he had to. I've done a lot of characters in my time that didn't talk, but they just had to. Doom Buggy was also, I was the announcer for all those crazy commercials. Barry Munot was his name, and
that's a great name.
Yeah, his name was Barry. Right now you can. But it was so great because we're in the studio. It was one of my first cartoons. And okay, who wants to play? I don't know if you remember Flubbo the octopus. Flubbo said this, and the Sherwood Forest episode was very cool. Flubbo was in there. So, Ron, what voice would you give him? Well, I think he kind of looks like this and talks like, okay, he's yours. And I just love the immediacy of having to think of things on the
that is
spot.
Cool.
Yeah,
I love that it was that by the fly. Like that was. That they, it wasn't like everything was that meticulous. Like we have this character, and they have a cast of you guys, and they'd be like, "Which who can do it?"
These days, it's you have to.
Now it would definitely be
recall.
I wanted to ask you about like that. It's like it's not that way anymore, is it? They seem to be so planned with each character now.
The landscape of voice work has changed quite dramatically over the years. I mean, I guess I've been doing this for a while, like 80s, 90s, 2000s, and these days. How do I skirt around this? Things are gotten very woke, and representative, minorities. There's a lot of people doing, on The Simpsons, on Family Guy, white guys doing, black guys doing, Asians, and that's just so taboo and not allowed anymore. Back then it was a little looser, like it wasn't as formulated. I mean, there's still a ton of work that went into it, and all the primary characters, of course, you auditioned and re-auditioned and you had to get the part, but there's always secondary roles when you're doing a cartoon. And these days maybe the casting is a little more intense, and also there's so many more people doing it. Remember, at the beginning of our conversation, I said I was in the right place at the right time for comedy. That was the comedy boom. Well, when I started animation, once again, I was very lucky. I was in the right place at the right time for animation. When I started, there was none of the Cartoon Networks, and I can name a half a dozen streaming networks that are just for cartoons. None of that was there. When I went to acting school in New York, there was no animation acting. Now I'm a teacher, but there's none of that back then. And you had to learn by the seat of your pants. Now a lot of people are taking classes and courses and then dealing, the other big change, I'm interrupting myself, is that, when I first started, you had to be there in person. You had to be in whatever, in LA, in New York, in Toronto, and you had to be in the studio. That's where your auditions and recalls were. That's where you did, the spot. And these days, a lot of it is from your home studio. Almost all the auditions now are just kind of, you can do them in your pajamas with a mug of coffee, And
I really hate that because like when I have to do auditions for acting roles, I really hate not doing it in front of people. Like,
me too.
Because at least you can show that you can change. If they say, "Can you do it this way?" You can change and then show them your range. But
absolutely,
they just say we want one version. Just send one, and it's like you kind of like you hope you make the right choice, but I mean you never know.
I blew my one shot. Maybe I'll get a second shot.
No, but it's true. I so miss the immediate feedback, and because you do a take, and there's so many directions to go in, and I usually lay down one and give them an alt. Read, but it's so important to get that feedback. And can you go here? Can you go higher? Can you go lower? I just auditioned for something, and the way it was written was kind of a big blustery kind of a voice, and the way they described it was kind of this anyway. So I had a voice in mind, and I did it like this, and then. Long story short, I saw the picture after the fact, and it was this really skinny little wimpy tall guy, and so I had to change it completely to this, and so it's you need that feedback sometimes. It's hard to do that. So for sure, there's been changes, and also the landscape of animation through the years has changed a lot. When I first started with Care Bears and Beetlejuice and Police Academy and Ace Ventura, and a lot of it was kind of cartoony and wacky and oh my god, that sort of thing. And then it kind of went through a period that kind of got dark and dramatic with X-Men and the Dark Knight and Avengers and things like that, and very very kind of deep and dark and dramatic. and nowadays I'm finding they like to take your natural voice. Now I'm not talking about the Marvel Empire, the Marvel universe at the moment, but just cartoons in general. A lot of them are taking your natural voice and just kind of going places with it. If you think of, I mean, even take Big Mouth or BoJack Horseman or whatever the case, there's going to be the odd, goofy kind of over the top character, but a lot of them are just kind of, pretend you have a cold and let's make your voice a little more nerdy, or kind of give it a little crackle and be that kind of goofy guy, or kind of give it a bit of rasp and go there. So, when I work with students and myself, I take my natural voice and I just try to go places with it. But
that's a very interesting commentary, because I've noticed, like, I was a huge fan of BoJack Horseman, and even like Amy Sedaris was very recognizable voice. Hers, she just pops it. It's like the same but just high. It's like when she's excited, or like there's certain characters that they kind of do that.
Well, look at Rick and Morty. Like Rick is crazy, and but everyone else is kind of, just mom is mom, dad is dad. Hey, come on, Uncle Rick. I don't think we should be doing that.
I love Chris Parnell does Jerry. Because everything he does is generally the same. Like anytime he does any voice acting, it's almost the exact same voice.
Doesn't he do Archer too?
No, that's John Benjamin.
No,
but he's in Archer.
He's Zero in Archer, yes, right. So,
he's in Archer, and
he's basically the same voice.
He does that voice, yeah. I had to audition recently for this cartoon just to talk about not knowing and not being in the studio. So it was for No, it was a kid's cartoon, but it was called Big Blue, and I think it came out last year. And it's a really cool cartoon. And there's a part for this underwater sea monster, and they gave me a reference, a ref tape. And now, for those of you who don't know, sometimes with an audition, they'll give you a reference tape. Kind of, this is in the ballpark of what we're looking for. This kind of voice, this kind of thing. And once again, this voice didn't talk; it was just like sound effects and stuff. But the reference that they gave me was D. Bradley Baker, who I don't know if you know him. He's like an amazing. He did a lot of work. He did all the sound effects and voices for like Predator and Alien, right? So I'm listening to this. And I'm trying. I spent hours kind of perfecting my Alien Predator. Getting really creepy. So finally I go into the studio. This was back when I was because recalls are sometimes in the studio. And I do this for this character. And I look into the booth and everyone is like wide-eyed, and I don't know if that's good or bad. And they punched in, they said, "Ron, that was really great, but please remember the demographic here is for 4 to 6 year olds." And so that might be a curdling scream. That just might be a little too scary. So since he was the underwater monster, of course, I incorporated my underwater. He ended up. He ended up like that. But that's really funny. So not only has voice work changed over the years, but you really have to focus in on if you're auditioning for preschool animation or primetime animation or Saturday morning cartoons, because I always say know your audience, know your attitude, meaning who are you trying to appeal to. So if you're gonna do a character and he's either has to have some humor and lightness to him, or you can only get so dark, in certain times. So that's really important to know too when you're auditioning.
Well, I was curious.
It's funny you notice this.
No, you go ahead, Dave.
It's funny you notice this very serious turn in the 90s in animation too, because it was kind of like the same thing in comics. Like in the recent Spider-Man movie, they kind of focus on the 90s character, and he just goes, "I'm thinking about my past." And
yeah, Scarlet Spider,
yeah.
Well, it's just interesting about because I was curious about how much is involved when it comes to working on properties. Where you're aping in a way a character that existed in another one, because you did a lot of these projects that were like Ace Ventura or the cop ones. Yeah, Steve Gutenberg, and those ones. It's like, is there any pressure to sound like them, or are you doing your own thing?
No, I mean that's kind of the catch-22. They want you to be like the character, but not sound like the character for copyright reasons.
Oh, okay.
I
was like, because like Ghostbusters, they use Lorenzo music, and you know what I mean. Like,
no, if they wanted to be the character, they'd at the level that
close but different enough.
Close but different. It's weird. It's funny. I was working with a student from New York, and we were working on his animation demo, and he said, "I do a great Ray Romano," and I said, "Well, no, that if they want Ray Romano, they'll get Ray Romano. You can't do, And he says, "No, you got to hear it. It's a great Ray Romano." I said, okay, do it for me. And he did. And I said, I've good news and bad news. The bad news is that was a really bad Ray Romano. But the good news is it's a great character because, nasally and New Yorkie and whatever the case.
That's really funny. Yeah. Well, because I read somewhere that Ernie Hudson had tried out to do the voice of Winston Zedmore in the cartoon, but they turned him down. He didn't get the part, and they gave it to Arsenio Hall. So it's like the actual Winston audition and didn't get the part. So
that's funny. That's funny. I've actually been called in to replace myself once by mistake. I was the voice of I won't mention the commercial campaign, but I had it for a while. And with agency changes, they sometimes change the creative and But I was called in, I guess, by mistake, and on the sheet it was like
Ron Rubin type. Ron Rubin. Yeah. Can you do a Ron Rubin type?
Exactly. So I don't know, but no, back then, there's a lot of those kind of. I remember. Oh, one of the I hate to say one of the worst cartoons I've done, but do you remember MC Hammer?
Oh yes.
Okay, so do you remember?
I used to watch that.
Oh yes. Do you remember the cartoon Hammer Man?
Oh yes, very much so.
So I played
Dancing Shoes.
Exactly. I played one of his shoes. So I played
righty or lefty.
I played righty, and Neil Crone, who was wonderful, played lefty, and it was like
That's
hey,
amazing.
it's time to dance, MC. You know, it was just kind of like some cartoons and Pigs we did. It was just some of these cartoons I did. But back in the 80s, early 90s, yeah, a lot of them were like very, very spirited and charactery and over the top, and you know, which was fun. But still, it's all over the place. It's anyway.
Oh man, you worked on Pro Stars. What voice did you do on Pro Stars?
I forget. Do you have my
Wayne Gretzky? Is that the one with Wayne Gretzky?
Yeah. You know what's funny? Because I literally was thinking about that cartoon as you were talking, and I was like, I wonder if he's involved with Pro Stars. Because like, it was Wayne Gretzky, Bo Jackson, and Michael Jordan.
Right.
And they had like a super team where they all live with their elderly mom, or they call grandma or ma or something.
Yeah. I forget. Oh God, do you have my IMDb pulled up?
Yeah, I just did. That's why I saw it. I was sitting through something.
I remember what I did with that one.
Because Bo Jackson and Wayne Gretzky did their own voices in that.
Yeah, no, they did their own. I think I was an announcer or something. I don't know. Do you remember Angela Anaconda?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay, so I played
one of the strangest cartoons,
wasn't it? It was it was
strangest animation style.
Yeah, the animation was really weird. I was Uncle Nicky in that. Which hey, come on, you figure man, which is basically my Joe Pesci. Hey, come on, what are you doing, you figure Laura? You know, it was a really fun character. But awesome. A lot of that kind of stuff. And then a few years after X-Men finished, because I think X-Men was like 92 to 97, and then around 99 Avengers, like the same kind of group and casting agents and everything, and a few of us, Lenore and one or two others, got kind of shifted onto Avengers, and we had to re-audition for that, and I got to give the Vision, you know, his the first person to give the Vision a voice before Paul Bettany played him in the films and everything like that, and that was really fun, you know, that very, I'm sorry, I cannot do that. That, you know, he was very kind of monotone and very kind of, you know, AI-like, which was a really fun voice for me. And that series only went 13 episodes.
3000 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's too bad that didn't go any further. I don't know what was happening with Marvel at the time when it came to events.
That was a really tumultuous time for them. That was right around the time they were like declaring bankruptcy and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So, you know,
I know there was something happening behind the scenes.
That's what they sold off a bunch of their property. That's why Sony has like all their Spider-Man stuff, because they sold it to Sony to try to make money. And of course, now that they're trying to, exactly. And Fox had the X-Men, but now they're trying to get everything back under their own umbrella. There's still a few things that Sony's holding on to, like Spider-Man mostly. So,
oh wow,
I think there's some issue with the Hulk getting his own movie.
No, they cleared that up, I think.
Oh, did they? Okay.
I think he can. Well, I don't know, because like a lot of the elements of like Hulk stories are in the next Captain America movie. So I don't know. We'll see.
That's a nice franchise.
They don't want to make a Hulk movie because it's just like a CGI nightmare.
Yeah, the last one was okay. The Edward Norton one was all right.
That's a nice franchise to have up your sleeve, to have Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, Sony like kind of, I don't know, they keep making these weird Spider-Man movies where they're like Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter and like all, like whoever in their life was like, man, I hope to one day get a standalone Kraven the Hunter movie. That's what I want, baby. I want a Madam Web movie. That's what I want to see. Like nobody wants Morbius on his own. That's what we need.
You know, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, when you came into X-Men, like you say, it was based on Changeling, but there's not much there. Like Changeling was like, so did they give you anything really, or did they just like make something up? Because there's not much they could really inform you.
Well, basically, I was going to, with Morph, because I got to go in so many different directions, like, you know, impersonating the guards and whatever the case. For my bass voice, I kept it as mine. I mean, when I auditioned, I didn't go too charactery with my voice because I was going there with the other voices. Yeah. But it was the first one that kind of really made me act. You know, I mean, cartoons and gaming, I mean, it's voice act, you know, I basically differentiate, you know, it's all under the umbrella of voice work, but commercials and narration and audiobooks, that's voiceovers. And I consider animation voice acting, you know, because,
for
you
sure.
know, it's one thing to create a voice and it's another thing to really to bring it to life. So, you know, when you're doing kind of a goofy thing, you have to be a good actor and you have to do that. But to do it in my own natural voice, and under kind of the parameters of the Marvel universe at the time and X-Men, it was like there were some heavy duty scenes, as you remember, like Wolverine, don't leave me, you know, and I'll kill them all, you know, and you really had to do it, and they really went for honesty. They really kind of called you on that, and it was like they put you through the ringer, you know, the directors and the producers, just to get it right.
So voice acting is super important.
Sorry, I'll just finish that thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when it came to the character, to answer your question, I guess I kind of, youthed up my voice a little bit to give him some energy, and then when, I got to do all these different characters with him, and hey, come on, guys, let's go save. Yeah, we got to go save Wolverine. He was like, filled with lots of it. So the bass voice was my own. I might have younged it up a little bit, so I didn't go too far on the bass voice. It was just playing all the other characters.
That's awesome. Well, I was going to say
they wanted him to be the comedic kind of.
Yeah, they told me he was kind of the and I, you know what, I didn't. I mean, that's great, but I've always, I come from a background of comedy and voices and characters. It would have been nice, it would have been great to play one of the, the deep, hot, and heavy kind of, other characters. But I loved Morph, although I didn't know at the time he was going to get killed off. But that was great. It was up my alley, and that's what I was known for, and it was a perfect fit for me. I love playing, all sorts of different characters. I love the villains. I love the deep voices. I love the, I think voice actors are in two categories. Some voice actors have like such a known voice, like, take an Owen Wilson, a Christopher Walken, no matter what they do, they're going to sound like that. And other voice actors can do, 100 different voices, and you don't necessarily can pick one apart from the other. So, it was great, but I just stuck with my natural voice until I had to do other voices.
Well, that's the cool thing about voice acting. I just wanted to say this is that because, acting is making choices, right? That's what they always tell you. And when you're doing something more nuanced, like a cartoon, instead of like a commercial, because it's pretty obvious you're just on, whatever they're trying to sell. Yeah. But the, you're making choice on all those characters. But the beauty of voice acting is it's not like when you act like me, the way I look, whenever I get a part, it's usually like a mobster or like a gangster or a security guard.
Physicality.
That's a huge part of it, but that's out the window when you're in voice acting.
Absolutely.
And I remember I have a deep respect for voice acting, and I got to audition one time for an ad campaign for like a friendly Sasquatch. And I was like, oh man, this is what I wanted. Like, this was, I didn't get it, unfortunately, but it was like,
what was the product? Because I played a friendly Sasquatch in a commercial a while back.
You lost to Ron Rubin, Andre. You should.
Okay, well, now I feel better about it now. It might have been that one. It was for the government of Canada. It was,
I forget. But he ended up being kind of a big, friendly, kind of goofy guy, or something like that. I forget what it was.
Yeah, I did something like that. I think the line was like, "It's really hard." Like, you're talking about how hard it is to like.
I forget.
That's what it was when I read it. But
I forget.
Hopefully, it's come out somewhere, and I'm not in trouble for talking about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But you're absolutely right, because when when I used to do on camera, it's totally based on the physicality and the looks, and it was really hard because I would audition for things and not knowing that they wanted someone who was blonde hair and 6'2", or whatever the case.
Yeah, that's the worst, and it's always an arbitrary reason. Like I do background on the show called From. They film in Halifax, and and there's a big part that got an extra part where you held a gun on a guy and you had a line, and they're like, "You do it," and I was like, "Great, that's really fun." And then they're like, the actor came up and he stand in front of me, and they're like, "You're too much taller than him," and get another guy, and I was like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so arbitrary and dumb. It's like. Yeah, but they wanted me to be imposing, and I was like, "Shouldn't I be taller than him? Like, doesn't that work?"
Well, that's why, like you can't teach height, as they say.
Make the star look too small, though.
I guess
that's the beauty of voice work, and that's what I love, because you can be 7 feet tall, and you can be like 4 inches tall, and you can be goofy, and you can be serious, and you can be New Yorkie, and you can be Irish, and Ron, is there a voice actor that you are a personal fan of that you've had the honor to work with during your career? There's so many good people out there. Gosh, I don't want to say, well, Maurice LaMarche. Maurice LaMarche? Yeah. So when I started doing stand-up at Yuck Yucks, Maurice was there, and he was an impressionist at the time. And I've run into him at cons a few different places, and he's Pinky in the Brain. He does the best Orson Welles in the world. So Maurice LaMarche is certainly one person I really respect.
He'll always be Morbo in Calculatron to me.
Yeah, exactly. D. Bradley Baker, who I brought up earlier, I haven't had a chance to actually work on a scene with him, but I really appreciate what he does, because I kind of specialize in sound effects and animal noises and creature noises and stuff, and he's a master at it. He's so good. There's a few others that I'll get back to, but it's a pretty close-knit network, when you're doing cartoons. There's a few of us lucky ones that get to work a lot, and you basically inevitably run into, not the same people all the time, but it's ever changing. But there's just some wonderful people here. But I found the ones who are really good at it do have a sense of acting. They don't just do funny voices. When I coach people or direct people, I say, I don't want you to just put a funny voice onto the line. I want you to become the character. I don't want you to just read. The secret to all voice acting is reading the words on the script without sounding like you're reading the words on the script. You have to form a three-dimensional character. So a lot of people who say, I can do a few funny voices. There's the acting element involved as well.
Absolutely. Well, how much is I don't want to take the conversation, Dad. Do you have a question or?
No.
Okay. So like, how much is involved? Because obviously you're involved with Sailor Moon, a big part of Sailor Moon for a very
Sailor
long time. Because I just started watching like an anime that's on Netflix that's based on a manga I really like called Pluto, and it's the English dub. But I'm curious how, like, when it comes to dubbing an English version of a foreign property, is there, like, how much direction is given from the core people, if any, or is there any? I don't imagine they need you to sound exactly like the same timbre as the the Japanese actors or whatever.
Exactly. I'm so glad you brought up Sailor Moon, because if we're talking about voice, where I know this is an X-Men kind of podcast.
No, it's about you.
But we're talking. Oh, if it's about me, then let me tell you about my.
It all began on a cold summer morning.
It was a dark, dreary night when I was born. But I was talking about the evolution of voice acting and going from goofy to dark to this to that. All of a sudden, when did I do Sailor Moon? It was probably in the early 2000s.
Mid-90s?
Mid-90s. Oh, that's right, it was. And we had no idea. Now, Sailor Moon was the first mega crossover anime show, okay? And we had no idea what anime was. It was so new, and we had to, for people watching this, the majority of original animation, what you see on TV or at the theater, you lay down the voice track first and then they draw to it. So a lot of people might not know that. So so for 90% of the cartoons I've done, you're in the studio with the voice director and the producer and the writer, and I will do my lines. Hey Wolverine, let's get out of here. We got to go save the X-Men. I'll do that, and then they will draw to that. Because apparently it's easier, it's better, it's more expedient to do that than to try to lip sync to something already drawn. Because if it's already drawn, you have to match up, what if the character is all over the place. And also it allows for script changes, before they finally do that. Now I'm just speculating because I don't know exactly, but all original animation is you lay down the voice track first and then you draw to it.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And then there's ADR, which stands for or dubbing. ADR is additional dialogue recording. And so anything coming over from another country, if it's coming in from, Russia or China or Israel or Yugoslavia or specifically Japan, the mouth movements are already there. And so then you have to do something called rhythmo band. There's been, I've been around a while, so there's been different methods over the years, but you have to match the dialogue to the mouth movements. Now it's interesting. If you watch Sailor Moon, it's drawn as Japanese mouth, so they're more rounded. And so it doesn't fit perfectly. But originally when I started doing this, someone painstakingly phonetically wrote out all the dialogue and you followed across, and there's a bar on this side. I don't know if I'm backwards here or not.
Yeah, that's all right.
There's a bar on this side and the letters come across, and you have to get in on the letters and get out.
Wow, talk about pressure. Holy crap.
So you're reading across and say you're falling off a cliff or something, like, hey guys, we got to get out of here. They're going to be 18 A's, and then you're out. And it's going to match up exactly to the physicality of someone falling off the cliff. So back in the day, I say back in the
to
day
make
a
it
lot,
sound natural too.
To make it.
So even just the creativeness to make whatever the dialogue is match that. and also mean the same thing it's supposed to mean to convey the story.
So A, you're transferring it from Japanese to North American to English to American, whatever. And B, you're trying to match the mouth movements that are different. But it's come a long way, and it's amazing how efficient this method is. Now, originally, they used to have two beeps coming across, like I won't bore you with all the technical stuff.
No, I think one of the other voice actors that have been on the show, maybe Christopher Braden have talked about, or Adrian Huff, maybe.
Yeah, so I mean,
somebody talked about this.
Originally, it was beep, 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 beep. You're in on the fifth, and then you're doing the lines, beep, 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 beep. You're out on the fifth, which was really hard. Then you're in when the two wipes come together. You're out when the two wipes together. They've come a long way. Now it's like the dialogue is going across. Anyway, long story short, the performance quality, the quality of the performance. This is.
He's happy you're talking about playing Artemis. He's a fan. Yeah. He's a Sailor Moon fan.
Oh, speaking of the hi Sailor Moon fans, from Morph to Artemis, it's been a fun career. We're talking about
the dubbing.
No, I'll get back to that in a second. We're talking about lines or laughs that get you into character.
Oh yes,
so for Artemis, it was just, "Hey Luna, get off my back." And that was it, because that's his full kind of personality. Luna just pissed him off all the time. But back to the dubbing, you're going in there, and we used to record like late at night, at midnight, at this little studio upstairs in Toronto, and we had no idea what this was. And you got like handed this script, and you didn't rehearse, you didn't have a table read or anything, and you're just going in, and you have to be a good reader. That's the other thing with aspiring voice actors. Don't take it for granted. You have to really be able to do cold reads and do them well. And so I'd go in, and you would just be reading as the words come across. And a lot of times you might have a few minutes to look at the script before, but most times you're just doing it cold. And so the performance quality is not as good as if you were doing it naturally. That's why original animation, when you're actually doing the voice in the studio, you can really get directed and get it down and everything. Whereas ADR or dubbing, you're just kind of reading, "Hey guys, we got to get out of here before," and you're in and you're out. So, they don't want you to sound like the Japanese. They don't want you to sound like the Russian cartoon or anything like that. But you still have to audition, and they still have a voice in mind for what it was. Actually, this is interesting. For Artemis, do you remember the TV series? You have to be of a certain age that Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd were in, was called Moonlighting.
Yeah.
So, that was really hot at the time. And they originally wanted Artemis to be the Bruce Willis voice in Moonlighting. Okay.
Oh, really?
So he was like, "Hey, Luna, get off my back. Hey, cowabunga, dudes." Like, he was kind of real. He was like laid back, and because there's so much frenetic energy going on, because all the Sailor Scouts are they're all over the place, and Artemis just like, "Oh my God, get off my back." So they wanted to kind of be really kind of laid back and cool. So that was my start. That's a nice little piece of trivia for Sailor Moon fans, that originally I was doing a Bruce Willis impression.
Can Ron comment on if he auditioned for other characters on X-Men the animated series? Or 97 besides Morph, Chode, and President Kelly?
I think I read originally, I don't know, I think everyone kind of took a shot. I think I took a shot at Gambit. And,
oh man, your Gambit would have been fun.
Yeah. Oh, I would have loved it. Yeah, Gambit would have been fun. And who else? I didn't kind of have the voice that Norm Spencer had, so I didn't do Cyclops, and I didn't kind of have the Cal voice down there. So I can't remember. A long time ago, I literally can visualize the audition room, the studio, the everything. I might have read for one or two others. I can't recall. But Morph was the one I ended up with. And then on 97. There's a lot of backstory I won't go into, but I did read for President Kelly, because it was really nice, because they're doing the new show and they want to bring back, the OGs, the legacy actors from the initial series. And of course, it would have been nice to continue on as Morph, but they went a very different direction with that, as you know. And it's great, and he's doing a great job. And I
liked your Kelly a lot in the new series.
He was really?
Because it's not like you had because. Like, the character was a kind of a through part of the original series, and it's very much connective tissue to connect that to this one, to have him still the president, and still that going on. there's like an affair, like that the whole end of the series. I mean, I guess we're spoiling stuff, but people who are listening to this and watch the show, where he has to make that call to send the nukes, the magneto plans. Like that was some really interesting, and the interactions with Cyclops. There was some really good, like it was really good. It's really great character.
Yeah, that was a nice scene actually. Well, I didn't know, you know, it's funny because I don't know if I'm breaking any confidentiality here. Probably not, because we're just talking about the audition process. But when I got asked to audition for Kelly, because they knew they were going a different direction with Morph, right? So that was a given.
So there was never a talk that you were going to return as Morph. They never brought that to you.
Yes and no.
If we're prying.
No, it's not a matter of prying, but believe me. I think once they realized they were going in a different direction, I think they had that actor in mind for it.
Yeah.
You know,
I think so too. It seemed like,
I mean,
the character had subtly shifted to tailor towards that actor a little bit.
I read for it, but I wasn't informed that, you know, they're going non-binary and they're going in a very different direction with it. But you know, as I say, that happens in this business. Gamba got, Allison got a new part. Catherine Disher got a new part. Chris Potter got a new part. And so it's nice to be involved in the show. So for President, I wasn't quite sure which way to go, because with X-Men TAS, Len Carlson played Senator Kelly. Len had a very specific voice for Senator Kelly, and he was kind of very up here, a little more nasally, and I didn't know quite where to go with it. So I gave a few auditions I gave a few alts, and one, this is kind of interesting. I've never talked about this before. And so one I kind of did with a little bit of a Southern accent. I gave him a little bit of a George Bush kind of like Southern thing. And then another one I kind of did more Cheney. I kind of did a little more rasp and kind of did him here. And then I ended up combining the two. I went in and I said, which one do you want? And they were like, and we played with it. And I kind of ended up combining the two. So he's got, just a little bit of rasp and just a touch of that Southern, not too much, and something like that. So I think this is kind of where the voice kind of sat at the end.
Little George C. Scott.
Yeah. That's interesting. Little George C. Scott. Yeah, it wasn't too gruff, because I wanted it to be natural too. So, but I kind of combined in my mind those two people. Who did I just mention? Bush and
Cheney. Which would be an amazing Frankenstein monster.
I combine this and this, and well, I don't think we can go any further with this right now. I'm sorry, that sort of thing. So
it's very politician, which is what it should be.
And you know what? I haven't had any feedback on the voice. So I really
dug it, because there's some heavy beats there towards the end of the series with him.
I really appreciate that.
And there's sobering scenes too, because there's so much craziness.
Yeah, no, I know.
And then you'll get a scene with him and Cyclops, and he's just like,
well, and also it paves the way for whatever they're doing in the second season, which I'm sure you can't talk to us about, but obviously the fact that he made that call means that he'll have a more combative relationship with the X-Men later. When they have to reconnect. I mean, it seems like they're all spread out over time.
You're not supposed to like Senator Kelly. I'm watching this first season. I'm just like, he's kind of great. I don't like President Kelly at all.
Exactly. And also the hologram kind of thing is new, because he was always in person before, wasn't he?
Yes, and and also you had the precedent of the live action version of him.
Yeah, exactly. To answer the question of that, did I audition for? Yeah, I did audition for another role that would have been really nice. It wasn't one of the X-Men. And I'm not sure if I want to mention this because the person who got it, I don't want to,
Oh, sure.
But as far as auditioning for other X-Men, no, it was Morph to Kelly to. Oh, and there was. Oh, I forget the name of the character, but no, I didn't go up and audition for like 1,000 different things. I just ended up with the president. And originally I was like, well, okay, he's not an X-Men, he's not a villain, whatever. He's a president, and it's a very different part for me, and it's very straight laced, and blah blah blah. And then I kind of did a little research on Senator / President Kelly, and like he's been around 45 years.
Oh yeah, he's a very
crucial to the story of the X-Men.
He was in the Uncanny X-Men and the comic books and everything like that. So even though I'm not in a lot of episodes and I don't have a ton of lines, I feel nice that I continue with the franchise. And one of the other parts that they asked me to audition for was kind of a one-off. He might be, in an episode here and there, but he was just kind of like a guest starring role. So I preferred having a part that kind of continues.
I have a sneaking suspicion as to who that is. Maybe I'll ask you later.
Okay, say it.
Is it Mojo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you have all the voice.
Your Mojo,
yeah. Your Mojo would have been fantastic.
No.
I did the best Mojo.
I love Mojo.
I did the best Mojo audition. I don't know what.
Well, based on all your previous work, like it seems like that would have been perfect. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know
it really does.
And Bo.
You shouldn't try out for Mojo in the original series either. You
no. Peter Wildman was the original series, but I mean, they thought I would be really great for Mojo, and I put a lot of effort into that audition, and I thought I did a really, really great job. And but no, they, like I said, they went you'll
never know. You can kill yourself trying to figure out why. You'll never know.
Oh no, I've been in this industry. I've been doing this like 40 something years, and so I used to be so take it so personal with auditions, be it voiceover on camera or something like that. And if I didn't get it, it's like, oh, what did I do wrong? And I did something bad and I'm not good. And now I realize, oh man, it's so selective. It's so specific, and actually
you can't take it personally. You really
you really can't. That's interesting. They mentioned Mojo. That would have been fun. It really would have. But if I got Mojo, I don't know if I would have got President Kelly, so.
Well, I'm interested too because I'm a big fan of the God Loves Man Kill story, and they tease William Stryker in the show just briefly. Yeah. So I'm hoping that might be something they revisit in the future, and I'm sure your character have a much bigger part in that if that comes. So that's cool.
I'm not even privy to.
No worries. I mean, we would never ask anyone to.
It's funny. Just you said you're an actor and you audition and stuff like that. So just I find it's there's when you're auditioning in front of a director, a producer, a writer, whatever. I find there's two types of people you audition for, and I don't know what's better or not. One is they have something so specific in their own mind, and until they hear it, they're not going to hire you. They have and the other type is the opposite end, opposite extreme. They don't know what they want until they hear it.
Wow me.
Wow me. I much prefer the wow me because I'll give you that. But
there was a casting agent in Halifax that I used to always go to, and she was always very I liked her. She seemed very much like she wanted, but she'd be like, she'd watch you do it, and she'd be like, why don't you try it like this? And then, you know what I mean? And then you do it that way, and then she'd be like, yeah, like that one, but then maybe you're thinking about this. And then so I love that she's invested enough to give you the opportunity to change. Some of them are just like, great, thanks. You know what I mean? You never hear anything that's like, was it fine? Was it not? And often when that happens, when they're just like, great, thanks, we'll let you know. And then I'm like, well, I fucking turf that, and I'll just leave. And then I'll get an email 2 days later saying you got it. And I'm like, what? You know what I mean? I know it's mad.
You never hear if you don't get it. There's no feedback. If you get it, you eventually hear. But I mean, it's one of my fun. I auditioned for William Shatner once. And for Tech Wars. Did you remember?
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
And I went to this audition, and I didn't expect him to be there. I expected just to be the casting agent and the reader. And he's there, and he was in this big chair. I mean, it looked like he was on the Enterprise. He was in this big comfy chair with big handles, and he was in the room.
So nice to meet you.
Well, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. So nice to meet you. And it was, and I was playing a reporter. Right. And I was auditioning for this reporter, and he was in a helicopter, and I was doing my lines, and I did it, and there's silence. And then William Shatner said to me, he said, "Now go beyond." And that's all he said. He said, "No, go beyond." And it makes for a great story because I had William Shatner telling me to go beyond. And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Deirdre, who was the casting agent, said you do sound effects and voices. Go beyond." And so I said, so now all of a sudden I'm doing the helicopter. Now here we are up there, and I'm doing all these sound effects, doing everything.
That's amazing.
I didn't get the part, but it was just great auditioning for him and just having him just say, "Go beyond, Ron." That's the worst Shatner accent.
Well, a friend of mine is a guy I know is like a magician, like a kid's magician who does shows all around here, but he's pretty ravenous.
Is it Ravine?
No, not Ravine. His name's the Amazing Mr. J. So anyway, he did this. He went to he's obsessed with all these pictures of celebrities. He goes to all these cons, and he often makes balloon animals in his full tuxedo that he does.
Right.
And it was his dream to get Shatner and he went to like the Toronto Comic Con or something. He made like he got there super early. He was there at like 6 a.m. or something, where it started 10 or 7 to be first in line. He was first in line. He made like a balloon Enterprise. He was so excited to give him. He did all this stuff. He was doing stuff in the audience for everybody while they're all waiting in line. Then they brought him in, and he was the number one person. And Shatner stand up. He looked pissed, like he was sitting down. And Dave walks in. He goes, "Hey, Miss Shatner, I'm a huge fan of the show. Just wondering if you can hold this for a photo." And Shatner looks at it. He goes, "I'm not holding that." And he's like,
I know.
And he goes, "Get that out of here." And he makes someone else take it out of his way. And then the photo of him with Shatner is so funny because Dave's like super excited. Shatner's like dead cold. Like,
I just don't get it. Some of these big names go to these cons and they are just,
it's like they resent the fans.
I've been at a few with Shatner, and he's got lineups around the block. That goes without saying, but people like buy tickets, they line up, and he's not even lifting his head. He's like signing. And it's like, he must be doing very well.
And he's making so much money off of that, I'm sure.
Oh,
right. Tons. It's insane to not just make eye contact with the person that paid $100 to get a photo with you.
Eye contact is awkward, Andre. It's awkward.
Well, I don't care if I'm paying that much money. I mean, the only picture I've ever paid for was, I don't know if you can see it on the wall. You can't. But there's one of me and Dave, that guy, and our other friend Aaron with Stanley. We chipped in on it, so it was like $30 each. So it was like $100.
Oh wow!
That almost killed Stanley.
That's right. He had a contract on his head that Davin took.
Oh, really?
No, I'm kidding.
I almost knocked him down an escalator once.
Oh, really? Yeah. No, it was neat meeting Stanley and saying, what I'm doing involved in the franchise and everything like that. But awesome. I mean, Comic Cons are fun for us too, because you get to meet all sorts of people. I mean, my first one at the generally the celebrity guests kind of eat in the same area and everything like that, and you just don't know who's going to be at your table. I've sat down with with Adam West, and Batman and Robin were there and got to be there, and I Dream of Jeannie, the last one. I just met Barbara Eden, which was really
that's
really
awesome.
Fun, and Luke Skywalker. Anyway, blah blah blah.
It's going to be interesting because you're all sort of contemporaries in that situation, right? Like,
can you? Someone is asking for my
question.
Mojo.
Can we hear your Mojo?
I'm not doing Mojo. I didn't do Mojo.
Fair enough.
Should I have even brought that up? I mean, it doesn't matter that I auditioned for it.
I don't. I
the
can't
one they
imagine.
went with is good too.
Also, I mean, it makes you wonder how, and also, like, obviously, I don't think there's anything wrong with what you said. But I wonder how diligent Disney is about that stuff. Like, are they listening to every podcast every voice actor does to make sure they don't say anything?
I don't know. I mean, I could. There's a lot I could have said here that I haven't.
No. I'm sure you're fine.
I don't think there's anything wrong at all saying.
No, not at all. I mean, hey,
But like I said, if I would have got Mojo, maybe I wouldn't have been President Kelly. And I kind of like the history of Kelly with the franchise.
Well, sometimes they accidentally tip their hand too. Like we did the last episode. We talked about that. The special they put out after the show ended, like the recap of the they assembled,
right.
And they have a clip in there of Storm talking that's obviously not Alison Seeley Smith.
Oh, really?
So, like, because I took the clip from the episode and I took the clip from that show and put them side by side.
Yeah.
They're very much different actors, so they obviously had somebody else reading first, and then must have went another way. But So sometimes that happens, right? And it slips through. Like maybe that was old footage that got used, and then whatever. But
there's a few things that no,
we don't want to get you in trouble. No worries. No.
This one, X-Men 97, more than any other one, has been a little secretive, with about releasing information.
Especially now that it's so popular, right?
Yeah,
because obviously the next stuff is going to be way under wraps because they're going to run this train as long as they can.
Well, you mentioned that, when I did it and then it just blew up, years later. And back to Sailor Moon for a second, we did the show and we had no idea. And then like 20 years later, or 15, 20 years later, we're asked to go to this anime con, Anime Revolution in Vancouver. And there was like just thousands of people like just lining up for autographs. And it was the first time like, wow, this really popped. This really hit,
that show was huge when I was a kid.
LA, at the Staples Center, LA, there was like gazillions of people there. And so when you do a cartoon, you don't know what's going to hit. And you don't know, I've been lucky enough to be in, X-Men and Sailor Moon and a few others that have done very well, but it's, you just don't know when you're doing it. And sometimes you don't know for 10 or 20 years after the fact either.
Is there any series you've done that you think would, a character you've done on that series that would be good to get the X-Men 97 treatment? Do you think that would be hit with a modern audience if it had
I don't understand. A character from another series?
Yeah, like a previous cartoon that you think would be.
Yeah, that you were on, like a previous show that you were on. Do you think if it
that would be good
had
for
a modern comeback? Yeah, like 97 did. Like, you know.
Oh! You mean the series? I thought you meant a character they played on another series would be.
Oh, in X-Men? No. He just means like given.
That's interesting too. But
I'm
just stumbling over my words.
All of a sudden, he's an X-Men. I'm one of the X-Men
Dr.
now.
Bad Vibes would be a great X-Men villain.
He basically is already.
I would love Cops to be brought back again. The evil Dr. Bad Vibes. Actually, Bad Vibes. He might be a little too humorous and over the top for X-Men, but he would. I love that sort of thing. Absolutely.
It's such a classic evil. Like
it is, and I've done
it's all in your nose too. It's like it's so good.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, my classic kind of evil villain, and I've kind of done variations on him. With there's a series called Sidekicks. I played the evil Master Zox, XOX, and he was kind of a variation on that. And then Digada Defenders. I don't know if you remember that. I played a character named Finch, so there were variations on that. But Bad Vibes was the first. But yeah, he's kind of your cliche kind of villain, and that was really big back in the 80s and the 90s. Yeah. I don't know anymore. Now it's almost like a send up, a characterization of a character, you know.
I mean, characters like that. Like I watched the Disenchanted show on Netflix, and there's a character that's similar, has a voice like that. You know, like an evil wizard type character guy. It's really funny. So like it's. I think those things. I think like those stereotypes are there for a reason, because in your head it's instant recognition. When you hear that voice, you're like, this is a evil genius bad guy. You know, like it's like back in the Looney Tunes days when they used to do certain characters, they would obviously be takeoffs off popular actors at the time that were known for playing.
Oh no, absolutely.
You know, like whenever they showed that weird, creepy doctor, he was obviously I'm blanking on his name. The guy from Casablanca. And the little doctor that was
Sidney Green, Peter Lorre.
Peter Lorre.
Yeah, the guy with the big eyes.
The guy from M. Yeah, he was obviously that guy. He'd always be like,
back in the 80s, every second audition, I would do a Peter and Laurie sort of.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know. Someone just asked my favorite line from X-Men. You probably said it. It's that smooth sailing from here on in, you know, or whatever that line is. And all hell breaks loose, of course, you know. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, I love those, the old kind of, you know, the 80s and the 90s, those kind of voices. But you know, I love where it's going now too. It's a very different landscape.
I think it's mostly
there's our Morph shirt.
Oh, let me see.
It has our logo on it, and it says, "This one's for you, Morph."
Oh, that's so cool! I love it. Where can I buy that?
We'll send it to you.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. I love that.
I'm a graphic designer by day, so I do stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, that would be great to wear at cons and everything like that.
Sure, for sure. Oh man, we would love that.
You know how to reach me, of course.
Yeah, we'll get your address and we'll send it to you.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Have we been yakking an hour and a half?
Yeah,
we should let you go.
Yeah.
No, I just looked at the clock. I thought it was like, I don't know, 8:15, 8:20. It's 9:30. That's great. I love it. No, I can keep talking to you guys all night.
Fantastic. I did want to have one quick question.
Oh no, I'm here. I'm all yours.
Okay. I noticed you worked on the Watership Down series, like the cartoon, and like I have that movie is one of my favorite. The original movie, like the original film, and I see John Hurt did this one as well, which is cool.
Yeah.
But that original series is such an interesting, dark, like meticulous look at life and the fragility of it in such a beautiful way. So like I didn't catch this cartoon. I didn't even know it existed. I know they did a newer one on Netflix recently, but I was curious about that one because what was it that dark?
Does it list my character there?
I'll take a look. You're a parrot or something. Parrot.
Yeah. Hello, I was a parrot. Yeah. I was a parrot. So sometimes you go in and you're not like on like a play that you know every person's dialogue or anything like that. I didn't. Some of I have 100 and whatever credits on. I don't know every single one, but I've hello. I've played my share of parrots over the years, absolutely. Awesome. So I'm not sure how dark the series was, but
it looks like it was probably a lighter take on it.
Yeah, I think it was.
I doubt they were seeing like people get crushed and bleeding everywhere.
I think I played the parrot. I think also on Donkey Kong.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
We just had a Donkey Kong. Oh no, I played.
That was a good show. I used to watch.
You were Captain Scurvy on.
I was Captain Scurvy on Donkey Kong. Yeah.
Which was a pretty interesting cartoon in its own right from that time period, because it was sort of like really CGI heavy. It's kind of like right around the same time that like Beast Wars and all those shows were coming out.
Yeah, actually, I just got I just got asked to redo my Captain Scurvy for this kind of a fan. If you look at my IMDb, what's it called? It's probably the
DKC Return to Crocodile Isle.
Yeah, Return to Crocodile Island, and these guys did it, and the animation is great, and the singing is great, and the music is great, and it's just like a little piece. If you're a Donkey Kong fan, you might get a kick out of that. Yeah, cool. No, I just did that not too long ago.
That seems to be a thing lately. Like I was looking up a few of the other actors, like voice actors, that you mentioned when we were talking, and like several of them are listed on doing these weird sort of fan.
Yeah,
you know, like revisit fan animations. Like it's curious. It's kind of neat because like we've come to the age with like technology and how a layman can kind of, you know, with time can eventually create some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like even because they redid like a Star Trek show that like that a bunch of them were in, that was kind of a continuation of the original series that some of the original actors came back for. Like, and there's there's a Batman animated one I saw that someone's doing that's sort of a tribute to the one from the 90s as well, with different voice actors. So it's cool.
That's what I'm finding too. I mean, with technology and everything, and everyone having home studios and stuff like that, it's amazing. You know, asking Angela Anaconda would be another fun one to bring back too.
That was a big one when I was a kid. It was in that block of like all the cartoons in the Saturday morning.
Yeah, you know, I think every Canadian voice actor worth their salt has been a Care Bear at some point, or not. So I mean, I played Nessie Bear.
Which one were you?
Nessie Bear.
Nessie Bear.
Oh,
I played Nessie Bear in the movie, the Big Wish movie. But it's funny because almost every voice actor I know at one time or not has been a Care Bear.
Well, we often talk about that on this show because when we were doing the original, we were going through the original episode, like all the show. Yeah. So we would talk about each episode as we went through them, and we would recognize voices, and we would look up the characters, and there's almost like a laundry list of like every cartoon, the same like, Beetlejuice, you know, and if they're older actors, there would be TV shows like, you know, Littlest Hobo or Kung Fu Let's Continues or ENG or Street Legal. Street Legal
and Forever Night. Everyone Forever Night.
Everyone was in that. Yeah, no, you know what? I had
Nikita, Earth Final Conflict. Exactly. Like just all these shows that were like very Canadian. The guy that did Beastly was in, because he was in the X-Men cartoon. He played Graydon Creed.
John Stalker.
He was Graydon Creed in the anime series.
John's been around a while. When I was just starting, John was one of the old guards. John and Dan Henderson.
Very recognizable voice. You know, I hear him, I'm like, it's Beastly. It's right, it's right
there. No, absolutely. No, he's a friend of mine.
He's not a Care Bear. He's a Care Bear cousin. You know, like he's always correcting Shrieky and she. Oh man.
Yeah, that's it's a nice community up here. It really is of voice actors, and you know, I feel very very blessed and very privileged to have, you know, made a career out of this, and a lot of people want to do, you know, what I'm doing now, and it's like I tell my students, the good news is there's tons of production. The bad news is there's a shitload of competition. Like a lot of people are trying to break in to the business now, and there's the whole union, non-union, which we don't have time to get into now. But I mean, you know, it used to be you want to be an actor member in union and get, you know, nowadays a lot of people are coming in from their home studio, non-union, and getting in there. And there's, you know, some doing very well and some it's hit and miss. And
I'm union, but there's a lot of things that come through that say, you know, non-union now. So it's way more than I've ever seen before.
No, absolutely. But you know, I also think people think they can just start doing it and like make 50 grand that year. And it's like, I think people are, you know,
luck.
Yeah, exactly. I
tried that. It didn't work. I got one sweet audition and I did an impression instead of creating a character. But so it was a good impression.
That's good. That's good. But you know, it's a tough business. It's built on rejection. I mean, it's built on, you know, if you get 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20 auditions, you're doing well. So I mean, that means 19 out of 20 times you're being rejected. But it's a fabulous,
it's like fishing
way to make it. It's like fishing. Yes. But no, I feel very blessed to have been doing this and have gotten the parts that I have, and you know, met people like you and been able to yak about it.
Well, I have one final question before we let you go. Does a psychology and sociology degree help with creating characters?
Interesting. No, but it helps with the crazy business I'm in, I'll tell you.
I was going to say it must help navigate the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, you know,
You're like sociopath. That guy seems cool.
I went to school and I knew I wasn't like, you know, I come from like a family of doctors, and I know I wasn't a science. Like I just math and science, that wasn't me at all. It was always the arts and sociology, psychology. I was actually on my way to law school, and because I thought, well, I can kind of, be in front of the court and blah, blah, blah. And then one day I just realized I didn't want to be trained to do what every single other person in the lecture hall was being trained to do, kind of thing. And I wanted to break out and branch out. But yeah, psychology and sociology has always intrigued me. It really has. I don't know if it's helped me create characters, but it's helped me maybe navigate my own emotional status in the business sometimes.
That helps too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Anyway,
amazing.
Cool. Anyway, it's been just wonderful talking to you guys.
Oh, thanks, Ron. It was awesome having you on the show.
Ron.
Yeah, it's a blast.
A lot again.
I didn't realize this was live. So where can I actually?
It's on.
I'll send you all the links.
Okay, I'll send me the links. Okay,
like it's available to watch afterwards. Like it's still saved. The whole thing's recorded. And then
I just want to thank you guys, Davin and Andre, and anybody who's listening live or who wrote in. I hope I answered your questions. I really appreciate the time you took with me.
Oh no, it's an honor to have you on.
Very happy.
It's my pleasure. Well, hey, I'm getting a shirt out of it. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
I'm a large.
Yeah, all right, that's good. I was going to say that's the other question I had. So perfect. I got to order one for myself anyway. So
I am now too.
Yeah.
Medium, man.
I know. I've been a large since the pandemic, apparently.
I have wide shoulders, so it's usually XL or double XL.
Okay. Anyway,
all right.
Thank you guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ron.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right.
Stay in touch. Okay. Bye-bye.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.